to trust yourself. Man, I want these guys to play the same way they played when they played Pop Warner football. And so when we have the fans here, it's a chance to enjoy that, feed off that, but also stay locked in and just go play this game that we love.
Well, the Panthers acquired quarterback Sam Darnold via trade with the Jets this offseason. Darnold turning 24 years old on June 5th and is entering his 4th season, coming off a year where he had a 72.7 passer rating, which ended up last among 35 qualified QBs, looking for much better this year.
I was so grateful for, all the things that the Jets, the city of New Jersey, city of New York was to me. But obviously it was time to move on for many reasons, but I'm so glad to be here. The city of Charlotte, my teammates, my coaches, there's nothing wrong with new beginnings.
How about what you're going to have when the Jets come to town for the season opener, a packed house again? How excited are you?
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. Not because of the Jets. I'm excited to just play football in front of fans again. Just excited to get going.
All right, so let's take you back to Spartanburg, South Carolina, site of Panthers camp, where they were on the field in front of, I think it was thousands, like 15,000 fans in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Rhett Lewis, Mark Ross, D'Angelo Hall watching Panthers practice. Mark, why will this situation for Sam Darnold in Carolina work where it did not in New York?
Well, there's a lot more stability right now for Sam Darnold in Carolina than it was in New York. When they took him up there, 3rd pick in the draft, he had to be the savior. And there was a lot of chaos going on there and instability with the coaching staff, with the front office, with the players around him. Didn't have the best supporting cast. So I think there's a lot more stability that he's walking into now with Matt Rule and Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator, and a better supporting cast with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and, of course, Christian McCaffrey. They drafted Terrence Marshall Jr. from LSU in the 2nd round, another wide receiver. So I think with the stability there, Sam Darnold won't have to be the savior and won't have to play hero ball. When I evaluated him on tape, Sam Darnold still showed the playmaking element that made him such a prize recruit, where he could make plays inside and outside of the pocket. But on the flip side, he did earn most of those interceptions and those bad plays that he had, forcing the ball, not seeing the off coverages. So I think Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, will help Sam Darnold develop his game, cut down on the mistakes, and run that offense that Joe Brady ran at LSU when they ran their national championship season, to have a similar sort of offense, which will make it a lot easier for Sam Darnold, D. Hall.
Yeah, and Mark, you're absolutely right. You talk about this supporting cast, and when you said that offense they ran at LSU, it's the same offense that Sean Payton and the Saints are running down there in New Orleans. So it is a pro-style offense. I think that's probably why LSU were just throwing bombs over everybody's head, because no one was really used to that. But having Sam Darnold and really having a coach like Matt Rule, listening to him talk, even right there, that little snippet, took me back to Any Given Sunday, where Al Pacino's talking to Willie Beeman about, hey, just pretend you're a kid again and your mom's ringing the dinner bell. He's just one of those coaches, man, that galvanizes his locker room. I think we all, Rick, had wrote off this Panthers team last year. And just to watch how young they were, and they went out there and they fought. They fought in every game. They got better. And they're a sleeper, in my opinion, that, hey, if Sam Darnold can turn it around, and I think he can. I was real high on Sam Darnold when he came out. Having a guy like Joe Brady, got to remember, Joe Burrow lost this quarterback battle at Ohio State to Dwayne Haskins, transferred to LSU, got around Joe Brady, and turned into a stud. I mean, you watch him mentally at the line of scrimmage, Joe Burrow, that is, and he is just amazing. And so if Joe Brady can get some of that to rub off on Sam Darnold, I think the sky's the limit for this offense, because you're absolutely right. He has weapons on the outside. And the guy we haven't talked about, you mentioned Christian McCaffrey. Electric in a bottle. I cannot. Team, a lot of things showed his face that he was able to keep under wraps. And so I think they'll embrace having Dak Prescott back, just being the leader of that football team.
Leighton Vander Esch echoed those sentiments to us on Thursday, D. Hall, calling Dak the heart and soul of this team, no question about it. And I just got to chill. We got football in 4 days, everybody. Cowboys and Steelers in the Hall of Fame game. It's going to be awesome. All right, let's continue our look here around the NFC East by taking him to Giants camp and a big year ahead for Daniel Jones. Let him tell you about it.
Yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable. I think it's nice. You mentioned learning it through Zoom last year and then getting here in person finally. And, I thought we did a good job with it, but it's definitely much easier knowing it, being able to have those, higher level conversations here early in camp. And I feel like we've made some steps already. So I know I'm more comfortable. I think our whole offense is a lot more comfortable this year.
Daniel Jones there talking to MJ Acosta-Ruiz and Sean O'Hara on Back Together Saturday. And this Giants team was in the thick of this run for the NFC East. D. Hall last year came up just short as Washington took the division. But how do you feel about the Giants' chances this year to get back into that race?
Hey, I tell you, hey, Rhett, when you say they were in the hunt, that's an understatement. They scared the heck out of me because they beat us twice, us being the Washington football team. And so they had that tiebreaker. If Philly would not have pulled Jalen Hurts, maybe the Giants would have been the division champ, but we won't talk about that. But yes, when you talk about Daniel Jones and just the amount of pressure he has, if Saquon Barkley is back healthy for this Giants offense, think about the playmakers you're going to have. You're going to have Evan Ingram at tight end. You're going to have Saquon Barkley, one of the most dynamic running backs in the league. You're going to have Kenny Golladay on one side. Darius Slayton, who's proven to be a heck of a football player. Sterling Shepard in the slot. Goodness, I'll take those 5 skilled guys up against anybody. The question is, can our quarterback be more responsible with the football? The Giants are the team. Everyone's always talking about Dallas. I don't know about other people in Washington, but the team that scares me is that team right there, because when Daniel Jones figures it out, the weapons they put around him in that defense, when last time Washington played the Giants in New York, the Giants offense couldn't even move the ball. They didn't worry about it. The defense bailed them out, got a fumble, ran it in, and took the lead. It just happens like that when you play the Giants. They find a way to win games, and so they have to get Daniel Jones to, like I said, be more responsible with the football in the pocket.
Yeah, D. Hall, you're right. And just going back to my Giants days, the Washington game for us was kind of like a scrimmage. We always had y'all numbers, so that wasn't much of a thing for you to see them get beat up. But yeah, you're right. The things that Daniel Jones that's been hitting him is his fumbles and interceptions, and those are the things that he has to control on his own. But lost kind of in the big free agent signing of Kenny Golladay, the first-round pick, Kadarius Toney, and then the big talk about Saquon Barkley, if he's going to be healthy, and it doesn't seem like he will be healthy to start the season, and they're not going to rush him back, is the offensive line kind of got ignored in the offseason. There was no significant free agent signing. There was no high draft pick. So when you look at the offensive line from last year, which was one of the worst in the league, and Daniel Jones, I think, had the highest pressure rate of any quarterback in the NFL. And they didn't make any additions to that. So that has to be a major concern. Their first-round pick, the first lineman taken last year, Andrew Thomas, struggled. Their second-round pick from a couple years ago, Will Hernandez, actually got benched, but now he's back starting. Their left guard, Shane Lemieux, has already been hurt in camp. They actually lost their best offensive lineman, Kevin Zeitler, from that line to the Ravens. So they're really going with a lot of unproven, young, inexperienced guys who have been inconsistent up to this point or haven't played that much. Matt Pert will start at right tackle, the draft pick from last year. So there's a lot of question marks on that offensive line to go with the question marks with Daniel Jones himself, and also the big question mark of Saquon Barkley. When will he be healthy, right?
Yeah, number 26, got to get him back on the field. Eli Manning told me this summer he fully expects a breakout season from Daniel Jones here going into year 3. The Philadelphia Eagles certainly hoping to get a big year from there. Now QB1, Jalen Hurts, as we take you to Philadelphia and listen in on the Eagles QB.
There have been a lot of changes, and personally, there have been a lot of changes throughout my career. Every year, whether it be a new coach, always something new. But I think Coach Sirianni coming in and everybody that we have here now, they're all great people, and I think we're just trying to get this thing rolling in the right direction, working together, have a great opportunity this training camp to get on the grass and just put work in, you know. So building that chemistry with one another is really important.
All right, taking a look at Jalen Hurts out at Eagles camp right now, Mark. And where do they find success now with a new starting quarterback, new head coach, Nick Sirianni, new play caller, that whole deal? How does this thing turn into wins for the Eagles?
Well, Rhett, they have to lean into the strengths of Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. Jalen Hurts isn't a sit in the pocket and throw the ball 30, 35 times a game quarterback. You have to lean into his strengths of a runner, a playmaker quarterback, not just as a passer. When he was at his best, his success at Alabama and at Oklahoma, it was as a dual threat quarterback. So now Nick Sirianni will have to incorporate those sort of elements that made Jalen Hurts a second-round pick and made him a star at Alabama and Oklahoma. And that is a lot of the zone read stuff, using him as a runner in the run game. You know, they're going to have to run the ball, but part of running the ball will have to be Jalen Hurts as a runner, similar to what Baltimore does with Lamar Jackson. He's nowhere near as dynamic as Lamar, but he can be a huge threat for defenses to try to coordinate against and game plan against. So they'll have to lean into Jalen Hurts' strengths. He will still have to make plays from the pocket as a passer, but in the meantime, for the Eagles offense to be successful, it will be Jalen Hurts as a dual threat quarterback. Don't try to shy away from what he does well and cause problems for the defense, dictating what Jalen Hurts does as a runner and a passer, D-Hall.
Yeah, Mark, you're absolutely right. Jalen Hurts has to be able to play football the way he's played for the last couple of seasons, right? Or at least the way he played in college and he was successful. You can't just make a guy like Jalen Hurts throw the football. That takes away so much away from part of his game that makes him dynamic. You asked the question, how does the Eagles translate this to wins? It's just about chopping the wood, guys. We've all been a part of football teams that weren't expected to do a whole lot, and somehow they still seem to manage to get wins because there's so much parity in the National Football League. These guys are going to go out and fight. Gannon, the new defensive coordinator, I was with him early in his career when he was with the Falcons. I mean, he is a fiery guy. He learned under Mike Zimmer, and then he was over with where was he at besides Minnesota?
Frank, well.
But Justin Gannon, I mean, he is just, what you say, Rhett?
Well,
I'm sorry.
If you're talking about Sirianni, he was with the Colts last year as their OC.
Yeah. I mean, Sirianni's the OC, but I was talking about that DC Gannon. He's going to have to be able to bring a different type of energy to that room because this is a team that, they're not going to be favored to win many games this season. But like I said, it's about chopping the wood constantly, day in, day out. And like you said, leaning into the strengths of your football team. You got to be able to run the football, and you have to protect the football. And I think Jalen Hurts will give this team a chance to do that.
Jalen Hurts looking for that connection with Devontae Smith, dealing with the rookie first-round draft pick at wideout, dealing with a minor leg injury. So we'll keep our eye on that as we continue taking a trip around the NFC East here. Stop in Richmond, Virginia, where you were yesterday, D-Hall, with the Washington football team. And Chase Young certainly leads a very talented front there for this Washington defense. Offensively, D-Hall, is it Ryan Fitzpatrick's show? I know Taylor Heineke will be getting some first-team reps too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be a battle. Coach Rivera says it's going to be a quarterback battle, but I think all signs do point to Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? He's the 17-year veteran who's seen a little bit of everything, who's never really been given the keys to really any car to go out there and play. He even said it himself. This is the best situation he's been a part of because he understands he doesn't have to do a whole heck of a lot. Think about the way Washington won games last year. I love Alex Smith to death, but he didn't push the ball down the field at all. It was a lot of throws around the line of scrimmage, throws to his playmakers, and those guys made plays. And the defense, for that matter, they made plays. And so you plug and play a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick who wants to push the ball down the football field. It was times calling these games that I was screaming for Terry McLaurin to get the football because he was open. And I know, you always got to go to your guys who make you plays. And to me, Terry is one of those guys. When they get Samuels back out there, Humphreys in the slot, it's just a lot of playmakers on this offense that Scott Turner has to find a way to get them the football. And, I talk a lot about Ryan Fitzpatrick being able to make these plays. He's also shown us that from time to time, he can throw you out of a football game. So it's about kind of trying to find that natural balance where you do push the ball down the field, but Ryan isn't putting that ball in harm's way by causing turnovers. You know, we know what this defense is going to be. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and it all is going to start up front. Those guys have to get even more pressure than they did last year. They have to be the reason this.
Burrow, though, how about this? Most pass attempts per game in NFL history, just edging out what Herbert did with the Chargers last year, stepping in for Tyrod Taylor early on last season. 40.4 per game before getting hurt and missing the final 6 games of the season. So we take you to Cincinnati, Ohio. Rhett Lewis, D'Angelo Hall, Mark Ross. And Mark, you were there in Cincinnati on a back-together Saturday yesterday. What did Joe Burrow look like to you?
Yeah, Red, I was there, saw Joe Burrow come out with the knee brace on, and usually when a guy's coming off an injury like that, the coaching staff eases him into it. Joe Burrow was full go. He was rolling out. He was scrambling around. I was really pleasantly surprised and shocked at how well he moved around and that they didn't seem to have any sort of restrictions on him. So that has to be a lot of positive energy for the Bengals franchise because, Joe Burrow last year, as you saw those numbers, he might throw up more this year, Rhett, because he's got even more playmakers this year with the addition of his college teammate, Jamar Chase. We know how prolific they were in their 2019 championship year, one of the most prolific QB wide receiver duos in NCAA history. Chase to go with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. They'll have one of the best receiver groups in the NFL. But also they got Joe Mixon coming back off the injury too, one of the best running backs in the NFL. So when you look at that position group and that skill group, those 5 guys together, Burrow, those 3 receivers, and Joe Mixon, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better group than that group. So there's a lot of excitement in Cincinnati. They did try to upgrade the offensive line with the Riley Reef signing, hoping their first-round draft pick from 2 years ago, Jonah Williams, takes a big step. So just if they can be solid on the O-line, that playmaking group is unmatched, should be a lot of points. But that being said, D-Hall, that defense does need to step up in a big way, and they're definitely not at the level of the offense. And it might be a long year for that D.
Yeah, and that's the thing that makes me say that the Bengals are a couple years away because that defense has to catch up. But, I mean, Mark, you talked about this kid, Joe Burrow. I mean, oh, my goodness, just everything he does just screams perfectionist. I mean, you watch him throw the football, you watch the way he gets back in his drops. I was able to watch him play against Washington, and I mean, we had Alex Smith as our quarterback, and I know Alex was going through some things, but Alex got to the line of scrimmage, ran his play, was immediately checking the football down. You watch Joe Burrow get up on the line of scrimmage as a rookie, make checks, see what's going on, line other guys up. I mean, just his understanding of Zach Taylor's offense at such a young age. You give him another year under his belt. You put another playmaker, like you just mentioned, Jamar Chase, who he has a tremendous connection with. Put him in the fold of that offense. And, I mean, the sky's the limit. The sky is really the limit for Joe Burrow. Yes, Justin Herbert won the Offensive Rookie of the Year. But if this kid right here would have played every single game, it might have been dual MVPs, co-Offensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Years, because both of these guys are the creme de la creme, man. And I'm so excited to watch the Bengals and Joe Burrow continue to progress and him really establish himself as one of the elite quarterbacks in this league.
Well, get real excited, D-Hall, because you're going to see him live here on NFL Network. Bengals against your Washington football team Friday, August 20th, 8 p.m. Eastern, one of 23 live preseason games here on NFL Network. All right, let's get a fantasy impact now, bringing Cynthia Freeland and Marcus Grant back. We are trying to win our drafts here, Cynthia. What's your biggest piece of advice to all of our fantasy friends out there?
Well, it all comes down to not overvaluing any one thing. Don't get married to taking a running back so early that you forego one of the good slot wide receivers. If you're not drafting high enough, you're not going to be able to get a chance to get the guys that play in the slot, or rather like a Christian McCaffrey, who is that running back. Of course, they're the most valuable ones, but don't force fit someone if it's just not where you're drafting. Number 2, don't draft your quarterback too high. I bang my head against the wall every single year talking about this, but outside of a few outliers like a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, you're really not going to get the value. The difference between QB1 and QB10 is marginal, not a big deal, so don't go reaching for it too high. And last but not least, and sometimes people get mad at me about this too, you can always stream a defense or a kicker. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to use those valuable later round picks to take some flyers on people like rookies who could give you some value and disproportionate value towards the end of the season.
Okay, Marcus, I'm taking Cynthia's advice, and what are you going to throw onto the table here to help us out and try to win this thing on draft day?
Well, the first thing for me is get yourself an elite tight end. I've had no problems going out and drafting Travis Kelce in the first round. Look at last year. The gap between tight end 2 and tight end 3 was almost the same as the gap between tight end 3 and tight end 33. If you don't get one of those elite tight ends, then just wait until some late round guys maybe with upside come. Which brings me to my next point, which is when you get to the later rounds, you want to swing for the fences and get those upside guys. I mean, yes, consistency is nice and having a familiar name is nice, but hitting your consistently low floor is just going to be a recipe for frustration. I like guys like Curtis Samuel and Darnell Mooney who have defined roles, have a chance for targets, and really do have a chance for some spike weeks in their respective offenses. And finally, don't get hung up on ADP. I know it's a thing we talk about a lot this time of year, but think of it as more of a suggestion rather than an ironclad rule. If there's a guy you like out there, go and reach for him and don't be afraid, because here's the dirty little secret. ADP, sort of like college transcripts, nobody's going to ask you about it later. Just go on and be happy.
Don't bank on that, Marcus Grant. All right, Cynthia Freeland, Marcus, thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it. I got to draft in like 3 days. I've never drafted this early before. I have no idea what to do without any preseason. I don't know. We figured it out last year.
Especially round 1, you're fine. That's
okay, there. All right, so we had a fun time with the Rams yesterday. Saw a cool sequence in practice where Matthew Stafford got picked off by Jalen Ramsey, but then bounced right back and threw a dart to Cooper Kupp for a touchdown. And that's kind of what training camp is all about, especially for Stafford when you're learning a new offense.
Working with Sean's been great. All the other quarterbacks, Kevin's doing a great job teaching us this stuff too. So it's been a lot of fun trying to learn it. It is a big challenge. It's quite a bit different than some of the other things I've done in the past. But I'm just taking it on as a challenge. I'm loving every second of it, trying to get better at it every single day. And I'm going to have mistakes, learn from them, and move on.
He's done a great job, Mo. I think just how smart he is, it really is a collaboration. He's got such a great way about himself, and a lot of the things that we've been able to learn from what he's done, it's kind of finding that perfect balance, and I'm excited to see it continue to kind of express itself and see how it unfolds as we go.
It was loud out there. You heard Coach McVay trying to compete with the collective noise of the fans. Man, they love their Rams. Whose house? Rams' house. That's what we heard all day long. And what we were seeing is what you're seeing. 9 to 10, that connection was really good yesterday. And D. Hall, as you look at what Matthew Stafford can bring to this offense, I get the sense that experience, seeing everything that the NFL has had to throw at him in his career is something that they're really looking forward to here with Matt. How do you see it, D?
Oh, absolutely. Just hearing Sean and Matthew Stafford talk about the way they collab on different things. Sean McVay understands that Matthew Stafford has seen a lot of defenses. He's seen a lot of things happen in the National Football League. He's played in some big games. None as big as I think what's about to happen this season because, Matthew Stafford has always played on a team that has never really been expected to do much. Now those expectations are elevated so high. When I found out Matthew Stafford was going to the Rams, I said, oh, my goodness, the Rams going to win the Super Bowl, right? We're all putting the Rams in the Super Bowl. And it's because of Matthew Stafford, yes, but it's also because, we heard about some of the deficiencies in Jared Goff's game. We even saw it, right? We saw him forcing balls into coverage or doing things that he shouldn't do with the football. And so you plug and play him and take him out and put a guy like Matthew Stafford who, like I said, can make every throw, has seen so much, and he just elevates this offense. I do think missing a guy like Cam Akers with a football team that loves to run the football, when you have an explosive, dynamic back like Cam Akers, it makes you want to run it even more. They'll have some guys that'll sub in and they'll be suitable replacements, but they won't be Cam Akers. And to me, that's the thing that, I hope they don't say, hey, look, we don't have Cam, let's throw it a little bit more. Continue to be who you are, which is a run-first team that uses that play-action pass. But I can't talk Rams without talking about my guy, Raheem Morris, new defensive coordinator, taking over for Brandon Staley. Look, Brandon Staley had this defense humming last year, and I think Raheem Morris is even a better coach. And so, you know, it's going to be fun watching these guys play. I know he'll get Jalen Ramsey and the rest of those guys going. You know, Matthew Stafford, can't wait to watch this guy go out and play meaningful football games. I know he's been waiting for it in his career. Now he has that opportunity.
Look, Matthew Stafford has always had all the talent in the world. That's why he was the first pick in the draft. But at the Lions, you know, he didn't raise the level of the franchise. We know the talent might have been deficient a little bit and a little bit of this and that, but he didn't raise the level. 0-3 in the playoffs, hadn't led the Lions to the playoffs since 2016. And with Sean McVay kind of always taking these passive-aggressive shots at Jared Goff by kind of highlighting what Matthew Stafford does well, it's almost like he keeps downplaying what Jared Goff did for that franchise, which was get them to the Super Bowl, and he did go to the playoffs for 3 straight years, won 6 playoff games. So in my view, this is Super Bowl or bust for Matthew Stafford and the Rams this year, because when you give up 2 first-round picks and a third, plus Jared Goff to get Matthew Stafford, and you're talking about this guy as the chosen one, you better win the Super Bowl, because making it to the first round of the playoffs and losing, or even winning your division, that's been done already. You made this huge pick to win the Super Bowl, so if they don't do that, to me, this is not a win for the Rams in that trade.
Rams and Chargers in a SoFi Stadium grudge match, 10 p.m. Eastern time, one of 23 live preseason games that you're going to see right here on NFL Network. That one coming to you.